You ever have one of those mornings where the universe just decides you're the main character? Except it's not a feel-good comedy, it's a straight-up fever dream? That was me the day I came barreling up my gravel drive, slammed the brakes so hard I sprayed rocks into the sagebrush, and caught Karen, queen of the beige windbreaker, perched on top of my rainwater tank like a vulture with a clipboard. Not kidding, she's up there yanking the release valve. And in the time it took me to process what I was seeing, thousands of gallons of hard-earned, clean rainwater came roaring out, flooding my land like some biblical punishment. I just stood there, speechless, watching my entire emergency supply vanish down the hill, and for a split second, I wondered if this was real life or a prank show gone off the rails. "Hey!" I yelled, jumping out of the truck. But before I could take 2 steps, Karen spun around, nearly lost her giant sunglasses, then whipped out her phone and started shrieking into it like she was auditioning for a disaster movie. 911. "There's a violent man on my property. He's threatening me. He's armed." Now, mind you, the only thing in my hands was a bag of stale road tacos, but you'd think I was holding a bazooka the way she was performing. Sirens started up fast, small town, nothing better to do. And there I was, blood pressure spiking, water gone, Karen screaming, cops on the way, and zero clue how bad this mess could get. Let me back up a sec. Name's Jake Walker, 45, Army vet, busted knee, owner of a 60-acre slice of Colorado heaven. I saved my whole life for this ranch: chickens, crops, a red barn I built myself, peace and quiet, the dream. And for a good stretch, it was just that. Then, 2 years ago, progress showed up. Heritage Ridge subdivision popped up overnight like mushrooms after a rain. Next thing I know, I've got an HOA across the ridge, cookie-cutter houses, pristine lawns, and Karen Peterson, self-declared president, patrolling the neighborhood with all the charm of a mall cop. She hated my chickens, complained about my rooster, and even tried to tell me my barn was visually disruptive. I told her, straight up, my land, my colors. She didn't take it well. So, fast forward to last week. I'm out in Montana visiting my sister. Ranch is locked up. My buddy Daniel is watching the animals. 2 days in, he calls, says there's a black SUV near my tanks, tan-jacketed lady poking around. She waved a clipboard at him, claimed she had authority. He took a picture, but by the time he circled back, she was gone. I cut my trip short, drove all night, and rolled into this circus, the tanks, the screaming, the cop cars closing in, my world getting smaller by the second. Now, here's the thing, those tanks? They aren't just for my lettuce and chickens. Out here, rainwater means survival, city water's expensive, and when the droughts hit, you're on your own. Karen, though, was up there playing sheriff, dumping my water, and waving a badge that, no joke, was laminated at a Staples. By the time the first squad car rolled in, Daniel had pulled up too, shouting, "She's the trespasser. We have video." Karen dialed up the drama, screaming, "Now there's 2 of them. Help." The deputy's weapon was out before I could say soft taco. My hands went up. Tacos hit the dirt. Daniel tried to explain, but the truth is, the whole scene looked bad. Me, a sweaty, tired vet on my own land. Karen doing her Oscar routine, and water pouring out like it was all just set dressing for a bad play. And then comes the twist. Karen, still clutching her phone, accuses me of stealing water from the subdivision system. I about choked. My tanks were here before her subdivision, and the sheriff, confused, finally asks, "Ma'am, this isn't HOA land." Karen launches into a story about recent expansions and new community guidelines, like she's the mayor. Daniel, bless him, steps up and shows the footage on his phone. The younger deputy, sharp kid, reviews it, turns to the sheriff and says, "He wasn't even here." She opened the tanks. The tension broke right then. Sheriff lowered his weapon, looked Karen dead in the eyes, and asked if she'd stepped onto my land without permission. She tried to spin it, talking about groundwater and public safety, but it was all hot air. The officers asked if I wanted to press charges. I looked at Karen, shaking, still playing the victim, and for half a second, I remembered something my old man used to say: sometimes the best revenge is letting folks see how small they really are. I said no, not yet. But one more step, and I'd bring the law down on her head. They walked her back to her car, her pearls rattling, but the sting was in the empty tanks, not her words. But if you think it ended there, you don't know HOAs or Karen. Next morning, white envelope taped to my gate. Cease and desist. $2,500 fine for unauthorized use of shared water infrastructure. Shared? I laughed out loud. Called my lawyer, Tom, gruff old vet himself, voice like gravel. He said, "These people want a fight? We'll give them a fight." But it got worse. That night, HOA board members showed up, clipboards, a drone buzzing overhead, snapping photos of my barn, my tanks, even my dog. Claimed territorial zone expansion put my land under their jurisdiction. I showed them the deed, zoning maps, even county records. They smirked and said, "We'll see you in court." I went straight to the records office. My land was agricultural, outside their reach. Tom filed a cease and desist right back. But Karen was just getting started. 2 days later, 2 a.m., I woke to a hissing sound. Someone had drained my backup tank. Footprints in the dirt, paint over my security cameras. Straight up sabotage. Daniel said, "She's not going to stop. You got to take this public." I agreed. Posted my story online, video of the empty tanks, drone footage, the whole mess. It spread fast. Vets, ranchers, random folks I'd never met started backing me up, offering barrels of water, legal advice, and a whole lot of internet rage. That's when Karen really lost it. HOA filed an injunction claiming I was threatening public health, called a tow truck to try and haul away my tanks at night. I called 911. Sheriff showed up, saw my paperwork, and told the tow driver if he touched anything, he'd be arrested for theft. Karen posted photos of my ranch online, called it an unregulated dump site. Folks in her subdivision threatened to cut my utilities. One day, I found the lock on my generator cut. Backup power switched off. I fixed the cameras, added floodlights, didn't sleep a wink. Through it all, Tom kept filing paperwork, Daniel kept me sane, and the community started paying attention. When the HOA board tried to condemn my ranch as a toxic runoff zone, I went nuclear, stood in front of my barn, held up my deed, told my story to every camera and microphone I could find. The whole thing went viral. News crews showed up. Even some former HOA board members quit and apologized on Facebook. Karen doubled down, called a press conference, still claiming she was protecting the community. By then, no one was buying it. Then came the final straw. Caught Karen and a board member on my security camera at midnight, crowbar in hand, tipping over my last tank. That was it. Tom pressed charges. The sheriff watched the footage in shock, and the case hit county court like a grenade. In the hearing, Karen tried to deny everything, but the judge watched the video, read the HOA's insane claims, and laid down the law. Karen, personally liable for vandalism, trespassing, defamation. HOA, $65,000 fine, restraining order, banned from my property for life. For one night, I had peace. Barbecue, bonfire, friends and neighbors raising a glass under the stars. Even some former HOA folks came by, shook my hand, said they were sorry. But as the embers died, Daniel ran up with a letter Karen was appealing, claiming eminent domain for the HOA. Her lawyer tried to argue my ranch was essential for stormwater management. We countered with expert testimony, zoning maps, even the county assessor. The state court judge shut it down hard, sanctioned the HOA for abuse of the legal system, fined them another $25,000, and banned any further action against me without prior court approval. Karen finally resigned, sold her house, left the state. Me? I rebuilt the tanks, better than before. This ranch is still mine, always will be, and no HOA on earth, no matter how power-drunk or desperate, is ever going to change that. But here's the thing, and you can weigh in down below. Where's the line between community and control? When do you stand your ground and when do you show mercy? I want to hear your stories, your HOA nightmares, your wins and losses, because at the end of the day, justice only works if regular folks fight for it. You know what I mean?